In this video, we are going to talk about a spout and a saucer and a lid for a vessel. Generally speaking, you should make your body of your teapot first. We're going to kind of do it backwards because that's kind of where I'm at. But same rules apply. We're going to measure what we make so that we can match it up to the body for the lid. I'm going to make kind of a traditional sort of ball-like teapot body. So I want to make a spout that I think is going to work with that. Certainly making multiple spouts might be helpful to you because they don't take very much time, and you might decide you like one better than the other, or you just mess one up. So I'm going to separate out a small amount of clay because I don't need it to be very large. And I'm going to start to center that smaller amount of clay. And you can see how if I was working with this tiny amount of clay on the wheel head, it'd be very hard for me to deal with. But as I'm centering up high, it gives me a lot of opportunity to do that and not be crunched down or feel like I can't figure out what I'm doing because I can't get my hands around it. So I'm going to make a little spout, and I'm going to start with a centered piece of clay and open up. And you have to be delicate, obviously, because it's small. I'm kind of going into the center like I would anything, just being very delicate with it. I'm going to make sure that lip doesn't get too thin. And I'm going to do little pulls. Maybe you've seen videos of people making teeny tiny perfect little pots like this. Oftentimes they do it off the hump. It's a whole genre of throwing these tiny tiny objects. And there are definitely different types of spouts. Definitely should look at images of different teapots. There's spouts that are very large. There's spouts that narrow down really hard. There's spouts that have big bellies at the bottom. And the way you do that is you would have a bump out at the bottom. So if I were to push out a little bit down here, you can start to see that expansion happening. And then when you go to put that together, you cut a spout at an angle, and so you end up with just the belly at the bottom and not all the way around the spout. I'm going to make this a pretty narrow opening, so I'm going to start bringing that in slowly. When we neck things in, you got to do a little bit at a time so that you don't end up with that drawstring effect where you've got a bunch of ripples. It might happen anyway, and that's fine, but we want to try to avoid it if we can. And as you get smaller, you might need to use a smaller finger or use a tool even to do it. You'll start using different parts of your hands as things get smaller, touching it more gently, probably need to use a tool now at this point on the inside, because I'm just going to open it up if I put my hand in there. So I'm using the back end of a pin tool. So I'm going to use a rib and start to think about shaping this out a little bit more. You want to have good support for that rib. Since I can't touch the inside, got two hands on the rib. Thinking about shape here, taking away all that extra liquid slip. And you can see that when I'm pushing on this, it's kind of deforming the top a little bit. But as long as I ease off pressure, it'll come back to center, it'll come back to round. If I let go really quickly, it will more than likely make it off center and not round anymore. So always, always, always working on that slow easing of pressure. So I'm going to take this opportunity to clean my hands because they're kind of messy. And I'm going to dry my hands so I can touch this a little bit more easily. And then I'm just going to trim the lip of this spout. I'm going to turn my wheel down a little bit here. And I'm going to trim this to level. Oh, I got a little bit caught there. But I think it's a little bit hard when it gets that small. We're going to bring this back in a little bit. Clean that up. And I'm actually going to leave the edge of this kind of sharp, the inside edge, because there's different theories on teapots and water surface tension, and one of them, one that I've had more luck with, is keeping the inside edge nice and sharp. Not sharp that would cut you, but keeping it a really strong angle, because then it'll cut that surface tension of the liquid coming out, of the tea coming out, and help to make your teapot not dribble. But that's only one theory of teapots. There's a lot of them. You can get really into people who make perfect teapots. I'll also go back once it's a little bit drier, and I will smooth out the inside of that tube, because that also helps. So we've got that. I'm going to set up a board to put it on when it's done. And I've got my hands are clean and dry. I've cleaned off all the extra liquid clay from the outside of this. And while my wheel is going, I'm going to take a pin tool down at the bottom where I know it's still hollow. And I'm just going to cut through. I try to cut through most of the way. I'm going to turn my wheel off. And I'm going to take my wire tool. And very carefully, I'm going to put that wire into the line I made and pull it through, and then I can pick this up very gently. Gentle hands, and put it on another board so that I have it ready for when I need to assemble my teapot. So we already had a video about pulling handles.